All right, folks, real quick, Mark here again. So I want to talk about a thermostat and a thermometer, and then ask the question, which one do you consider yourself to be in terms of personality, if you were a thermostat or a thermometer in terms of your personality? Excuse me. I'm just getting over a flu. I got hit with a flu, so this is like day 3, and I'm much better now, but still a little under the weather. But anywho, so the difference between a thermostat and a thermometer. First of all, let's define clearly what the distinction is. So a thermometer measures the temperature of a room. That's all it does. It measures the temperature of a room and display that measurement in the form of a number. And in this context, it's considered passive because it does not do anything other than tell you what the temperature is in that room. So if you're a thermometer personality, if we were to personify the word thermometer, that would be a person who walks into a room and tells you the room is 60 degrees. That's it. Now, a thermostat there's a distinction, and here's a clear distinction. A thermostat has a preset number. It's been preset. There's a preset number on a thermostat. Let's say for this conversation's sake, that number is 60. If the temperature in the room falls below 60, the thermostat triggers the furnace to increase it triggers the furnace to increase its heating mechanisms, so that the room temperature can come back to 60. If the room temperature goes above 60 to, let's say, 65, the thermostat will again trigger the furnace to decrease its heating mechanism, which in this case would be fire, decrease the heating mechanism, and so that the room temperature could come back from 65 to 60. So again, we'll go over this real slow one more time. The thermostat, if the thermostat has a predetermined set number. Let's say that number is 60. The thermostat has been told, keep the room temperature at 60. If the room temperature falls to 55, the thermostat senses that and sends a message or triggers the furnace to increase its heating mechanisms so that the room temperature can come back from 55 to 60. If the temperature goes to 65, thermostat does the same thing, but in the opposite direction, and brings the room back to 60 as opposed to 65, and to 60 as opposed to 55. So the thermostat in this context is considered active, whereas a thermometer is considered passive. So if we were to ask you as a person, if you personified the thermometer and the thermostat into your personality, which one would you be? Are you the active thermostat that controls and changes the temperature of the room? Or are you the passive thermometer who walks into a room and just say, hey, it is what it is. It's 60, it's 60. It's 50, it's 50. Now let's take that and bring that into our practical day-to-day affairs, into our human-to-human interactions. Are you the type of person that just accept circumstances as they are presented and provided to you? You would be considered, in this context, the thermometer, because you accept the conditions as they are. The room temperature is 60. I'm just going to tell you what it is. It's 60. It is what it is. That famous saying, it is what it is, has a very positive and a negative connotation, but that's another video. But in this context, you would be the thermometer, because all you do is you walk into situations and you say, hey, it is what it is. It's 60. It's 60. All you're going to do is tell me exactly what a situation is. In this context, you would be passive. Why? Because life happens to you. You see the difference? Life is just happening to you. You're a victim of life. In this context, you would be considered the victim of life or the victim of circumstances. You're just a victim. Whatever happens to you, you just accept it because it is what it is. Thermometer mentality. You have what's called a thermometer mentality, because you merely measure what the conditions are and accept them. If you're a person who walks into a room and recognizes that things are not organized or not going according to your goals, whatever it is you want, and you have a thermostat mentality, you walk in already knowing what you want. Because remember, thermostat has a predetermined set degrees or temperature. So if you have a mentality where you know what you want and you have a goal, you have a clear vision, a clear sight, but you walk into this room, and the room is not a literal room. It's metaphoric. It could represent anything. You walk into a situation and you know this situation, this room that you walk into is at 55 degrees. Before you walked into that room, you already had your predetermined set idea of what this room should be. You're going to go in there and you're going to change that room. You're going to change the situation. You're going to change the circumstances. So what that means is when life deals you cards, you don't just sit back passively and accept those cards. You reshuffle those cards and you make them work for you. You change. You alter, modify the room temperature to what you want it to be. Therefore, you have the thermostatic mentality. I don't think thermostatic is a term. I don't know, but it sounds good. But you have a thermostat mentality. Okay? You change the conditions of the room to what you want it to be. Why? Because when you wake up in the morning, you already know what you want out of life. You know where you're going. You have a vision. You have a goal. So therefore, when you have a goal, you have a purpose, you have a clear, precise, you're very decisive. You make decisions, choices, wrong or right, doesn't matter. You make them. It's very hard for life to unfold or to present you circumstances and or conditions and or rooms and you just accept them. It's very difficult for you to do that because you're a thermostat. And a thermostat cannot accept the temperature of the room. Let's say the temperature again is set for 60 and someone leaves the door open and now cold air is coming in. The thermostat doesn't just say, oh, well, I was set for 60, but someone left the door open. Life happens. This breeze is coming in. The temperature is now throwing out of whack. Thermostat doesn't do that. The thermometer does that. Okay. The thermostat says, whoa, 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 whoa. I'm going to increase. I'm going to change. Okay, I'm going to increase the furnace and make it hotter. So even though this window is open and cool breeze is coming in, I'm going to offset that cool breeze by increasing this temperature and make my temperature what I want it to be, which is 60. Take that mentality, folks. Don't let life deal you cards and you passively, inactively sit back and just accept circumstances as they are. Do not accept circumstances as they are. Use wisdom. Some circumstances you have to accept. You have to live within the realms of reality too. I've read this years ago. Know thy limitations. I forgot the author, but he speaks about knowing your limitations. Circumstances, you cannot fly as a mere human being. I don't care how much you watch Michael Jordan. I don't care how much you work out in the gym, how much you can jump, flap your arms. You have to accept the circumstances. You have to accept the conditions that you cannot jump out of a window and fly. You have to accept the conditions that you cannot go in water with no scientific mechanisms or device and hold your breath and swim indefinitely. It's not happening. You have to accept. So there is a sense of practicality, reality. We're not talking insanity here. We're talking rational, reasonable, sound, and healthy, realistic thinking patterns. So within the realms of reality, okay, we're not talking fanciful. Within the realms of reality, do not accept circumstances as life throws them at you. Be the thermostat and have a predetermined set goal, set idea, set vision of what you want. And when life throws curveballs, as it will, and when life tries to deviate you from your predetermined set goal, be the thermostat and say, no. Trigger the furnace of your soul, the furnace of your heart, the furnace of your gut, the furnace of your courage, the furnace of your boldness, the furnace of your tenacity, the furnace of your stick-to-itiveness, the furnace of your core. Trigger it to make the effort, to make the fierce and unwavering, unmitigated, undetermined, have the fortitude, intestinal fortitude. Trigger that furnace of your intestinal fortitude to set the temperature of your life back to what you want it to be. And that is the distinction between a thermometer and a thermostat. The question is, which one are you? Till next time, Mark here. I got to get back to the office and make sure my temperature is the way I want it to be. Peace.